Around 1 year and 3 months ago, we recorded a podcast about Zoya. It was about Zoya telling the world how she was diagnosed with breast cancer. It turns out that the podcast was so nice that we had to do it twice. Back then, this is how I introduced Zoya to the audience of her own podcast. I've known Zoya for 10 years now. We have shared the same alma mater, and we have unfortunately shared two workplaces as well. Zoya is the most smart, sensible, and articulate person I know. Zoya is also the most fun, fearlessly insane person I know. If I were to think of the word badass, the one face that pops up in my head is Zoya. To sum it up, if I were to wake up tomorrow and I heard that Zoya has just scaled Mount Everest, I would not be surprised. I'd simply shrug and say, ठीक है यार, एक week off मिला होगा, mood किया होगा, कर लिया होगा. 1 year and 3 months later, I want to add one line to that introduction. Zoya is now a cancer conqueror. And to discuss all those gory details and to talk about how the dating or online dating life of a person takes a tumble when you add the C word to your Bumble, we decided to do this podcast in person. So, welcome Zoya.
Thank you.
एटलीस्ट इस बहाने हम लोग मिल लेते हैं, मतलब साल में 1.5 साल में एक बार. सो वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू योर ओन पॉडकास्ट.
Thank you so much. And for the first time, we're doing it in person, even though we've recorded like
7 episodes so far for various assortments of podcasts, but
yeah.
First podcast in person. So let me start off the bat by quickly asking you how you're feeling now and what's it been like over the last 3-4 months or so.
I feel good. I finished treatment mid-September. So surgery, chemo, radiation, everything's done. Since then, I've been on recovery mode. And it's only in the last 2 or 3 months that I can say that I finally feel a lot more normal and a lot more myself. So it's been good.
What's the medical status as of now? So assume that the people watching it have no idea what going through cancer means. There, of course, will be people watching whose lives would have been affected by it. But assume you're telling an absolute layman, what is your medical status now? So when we say you're in remission, what do you mean? When we say you are cancer-free, what do we mean? And what stage are you at now?
So I'm in what they call remission or no evidence of disease, which means that, so cancer is not a curable disease.
Yeah.
But the way cancer is detected in the body is through scans. You will find a tumor or a cancer cell. Because I've gone through the treatment for cancer, where they removed the tumor, they did chemotherapy and radiation to kill off any stray cells. As of today, a scan would not find cancer in my body. However, because it's not a cure per se, doctors and the medical fraternity don't like using that term because it could be that they missed something. And hence they like to say you're in remission or there is no evidence of disease in your body. And that's where I'm at. Different types of cancers have different, just a commonly acknowledged number of years while you're disease-free before they start saying you're cured. So for me, that's, another 2 to 3 years. If my scans continue to come clear, then they might say I'm cured.
Clear. Okay. And to what capacity of your normal life, if I can call it that, have you been able to resume? Right from your active daily routine to what it was maybe pre-detection? What extent of that daily routine have you been able to get back to? Have creepy people started hitting on you again? Did you miss it, etc.?
It never stopped. Everything's back. I go to work, I commute, I've started traveling again. I'm able to work out again, which is something relatively new. Like I started with yoga, but in a month and a half back, I started to go back to the gym again. So I can dive again. I socialize. So in that sense, everything's normal on a physical level. But what they don't tell you about cancer journey is that the emotional sort of turmoil or battle you're thrown into even post-treatment nobody prepares you for that, and there's no benchmark, or I can't say that, oh, I'm feeling fine, because yes, I'm able to do everything that I feel like I should be able to do, and I have some really happy days, but then there are things that might trigger me and set me back as well. So emotionally, I think I'm still on a journey, but in terms of resuming my activities, I can pretty much do everything. So yeah.
What's recovery been like? I mean, you've been in recovery for a while now. Now, there are various stages of recovery. Just as soon as your chemo is done, then officially, medically, you are in recovery mode. What has recovery been like? When does recovery truly start? And how long has it taken for you to physically / medically recover? Mentally, I know it's still a process that will continue for some time. But medically, how long has the recovery process been, and what's it been like?
So I think I entered recovery in September because that's when treatment stopped. It's been both slow and fast, is how I put it, because the day everything ended, I was like, okay, that's it. I want my eyebrows back. Like today, please, can I get them back? But that's not how hair works. And, so every day I would look in the mirror and like, kab wapas aa raha hai. And after 3 weeks, when I saw like a shadow of eyebrows coming in, I was so excited. I was like, yes, finally I can look like a human being again. So that felt very slow. But just in a few days after finishing treatment, my taste buds came back and I was able to enjoy momos. And so I was like, that was pretty fast.
Nice.
So it's been less than a year. But I feel like a lot of things I was kind of, it felt too slow. Like hair coming back just felt really slow. But once it started coming back, I'm like, oh, okay, that was fast. So it's been an amazing journey in the last few months. I had made a list of things that I want back after treatment, like, hair coming back, nails growing back, being able to go to the gym, being able to swim for 30 minutes, being able to hold a 30-second plank. So I made a list banaya tha. And every few weeks or every month, I would strike something out. Oh, my nails are back. Oh, today I held a plank. And finally, I think just last month, I ticked off the last thing, which was like, I can go to the gym again now. So yeah, it's been exciting. Every week or every month has been a set of gifts. I treat them as such, that, oh, my hair came back and it looks like it's intentional now. It's just, it could be a style. So yeah,
You like the way your hair looks now?
I love it.
Ever since I've known you for the better part of the last decade, you've had long hair.
Yeah.
And that's been a major part of your personality. How you've styled your hair, how you've been with your long hair. And this has been a major shift. So are you comfortable with the length of your hair now? Are you comfortable with the way you look yourself in the mirror? Has it sunk in that I'm comfortable with this and I love this? Has that
Very. I was very, sort of scared about this because I used to love my hair.
Yeah.
I've done everything from like pink colors to highlights to bob and fringe and what have you, right? I loved playing with my hair, but I never wanted to go short because I thought it would not look good on me. And so, this is new, but I really like it. I'm very happy. Also, the curls that you see, that's not my natural texture. But sometimes chemo impacts your hair follicles in a way that they tend to curl up. I also have more grays than I did before, but, just adds more character. But
killing it, by the way.
Thank you. So I'm very happy. Like, I'm just glad that cancer took away a few things, but it didn't take away my love for my hair. I still like it. So yeah.
You were talking of the checklist that you wanted back. I know it's still an ongoing checklist. You might still have a few milestones to cross. But was there ever a moment when you said, fine, I'm back now. I have myself back. मैं ठीक हो रही हूँ. So in the last 6 odd months since September that you mentioned, when was there truly that penny drop moment कि हाँ, now I'm fine. I'll be fine.
So I live alone, but my parents were with me through last year, through the whole treatment. And when the treatment ended, of course, they stuck around for a few more days, weeks. And I kind of wanted to claim my life back. And I said, you know what? I need to start learning how to live alone again. So you need to go back. And they were like, we'll leave you for a week and we'll come back because, we don't know. And it was just October, so it had been a month. And they went and, after almost a year, there was silence in the house. It was my space again. And I kind of spent the first 2 days just cleaning things, putting things back where I need them to be, like reclaiming my house and my space.
Making it your way again.
Yeah. And I was very tired. I didn't think about anything then. I was tired also because I was physically not capable to do so many chores, but I still did them. And then I booked myself a pedicure at home. So an urban clap lady came and it was raining outside. It was quiet in the house. I sat down and I dipped my feet in the hot water. And suddenly I was like, yeah, I'm fine now, because no one's checking in on me every hour. They don't need to, and I don't need them to. So I'm fine because I can do this on my own. And there was that, that moment of calm and peace and normalcy, because I can just do that activity of meko pedicure karana hai aaj. My God, so it was. I very distinctly remember that moment because I felt like my life is mine again. And that for me was a penny drop moment, as basic as it sounds. Yeah.
No, I get that. So since we've all been sort of living by ourselves for almost a decade, and while we are extremely gracious and grateful for the support that we have from our families, but that's a part of us that we've left behind, living with parents, living with siblings, living with parents, etc., with living with family. But we've sort of developed our own identity. We have designed our houses in our own image. We like things a certain way. So while we are very grateful for people for when they're there, but you eventually feel like your own self once you start living by your own rules. So I completely get that.
Parents don't get that. So my mom was like, "Nahi hai." So but yeah, that was my moment.
So talking of parents who've obviously been through your side, you must have also discovered people who you can really count on. Like, I'm sure you must have realized who's going to be there for you no matter what, and there would have been people who would have been there earlier and wouldn't fallen by the wayside. Do you have a slightly clearer picture of who are your people now?
Yes, 100%. I feel so. One is I was very lucky, I feel, because in general, what the statistics say about young people getting cancer, almost 30 to 40% of them kind of lose a close friendship or a relationship or family, because it's a very difficult topic for people to deal with. Either they don't know how to, or they don't want to confront it, right? Many reasons. But luckily, I did not have anyone significant bail on me. But what also happened is that some of my closest friends and family showed me how it's done. I was, I think, very surprised to see how people showed up for me, how they did whatever they could in their capacity in terms of checking in on me, sending in a gift or two, or, just sitting with me when I'm in like some sort of grief or pain. And that, of course, helped me realize what segment of my friends truly, truly care for me. It also helped me learn how to show up for people. I don't think I would have done as good a job as some of my friends did. But what in hindsight it also did was it made me get very clear about what sort of people I want in my life. So now it's very easy for me to, authentically pick the people that I want to be with, that I want to even spend a Saturday with. Like I guard my time subconsciously, like really well. Like I would only physically spend time with someone who I genuinely, either I'm adding value to their life or they're adding value to mine. So it's become very easy to do that now.
People showing up, great, fantastic. What are some of the funny questions, or funny, unintentionally funny questions that people have asked about the disease, about your journey when you've been in recovery?
Funny to pata nahi, but very uninformed questions.
Uncomfortable questions?
I think that's a me thing. I don't necessarily get, like, I don't mind curiosity. Right? So someone asking me like, oh, you lost your eyebrows also. Like, yeah, that's hair. Hair, fast growing. So, so those kind of curious questions came my way and I was happy to answer most of them. So I won't say there was anything particularly that stood out. But I guess what surprises me now is when people get surprised that I'm living a normal life. Because somewhere they're like, oh, you went traveling. Are you sure you can do that? Or, oh, you're eating out. Are you sure you can do that? I was like, yes, I'm fine. I'm done with treatment. I'm allowed to live my life again. Thank you. So I think that's what sometimes surprises me a little bit about questions people ask. But everything else, honestly, it's just curiosity. How to detect breast cancer, or how did chemo feel like, etc. So I personally don't mind those questions so much. So
it's a great icebreaker as well for when you're meeting new people on online dates.
yes, I don't know about icebreaker, but sometimes, like, as a mischievous person, I will go on a date and I will not previously tell the person that that's my history, and they will look at me, and almost all the time it happens. They'll be like, oh, I don't know what you do, but it looks like you're into something very creative. Like, you're like a media person because of my
Nice.
hair and piercings and all of that. I was like, no, I do a normal, boring corporate job. And they're like, oh, okay, no, you look very, like, snazzy. It's like, no, that's cancer. And then they're like, oh, okay. I love that moment because it just, like, takes them aback. They take like a few seconds. I can see their face going like, oh shit, foot in my mouth moment has happened. How do I go back from this? So it's I kind of use it for a little bit of, let's see how this person reacts.
Nice. Stress test immediately. You're a very different person now mentally when you were, say, year and a half back when this was detected. Are there parts of you now that misses the old Zoya, or feels that that's something that you're not able to reclaim now, or have you completely, I wouldn't call it making peace with yourself, but is there still something that you miss from the Zoya of, say, 2023?
I think just the naivety. I feel like, in hindsight, compared to who I am now, that just feels like an innocent person who feels death is very, very far away, who believes cancer happens to other people, who is still stressed about an email at work. So in that sense, it feels like a precious child that needs to be protected. It's like, oh, poor thing, you don't know much about life, do you? So in that sense, I'm not able to relate very much with my past self. But I feel now I'm more me. I'm more authentic. मैं ऐसा ना, जैसे जिंदगी के 2 गश्त ले लेती हूँ एक ही moment में, ऐसा थोड़ा ना, I just want to, like, really soak in as much as I can in every moment. So it's really helped me come into who I am as a person.
You live life better now.
I live life better now, yes. Which I hadn't before because, maybe because I thought I have many, many years to figure shit out. And then I was like, I probably don't. Or who knows, right? Or who does, for that matter. So why not just try and live with as much joy and authenticity as possible? So in that sense, I don't relate, but, it just feels like you were cute.
Are there any major habits that have changed? And do you miss those vices or indulgences, so to speak?
Not really. No, I think I wouldn't say I had much of an addiction to anything.
Yeah.
It was more like a social, and alcohol is one of the substances that's closely linked to cancer. There's no amount of alcohol that's good for you. Like even a small drink is basically you're putting poison in your body. So obviously during treatment, I could not have alcohol. And then even after that, I didn't feel necessarily the need to. So it's not been very difficult to let go of that. I still, if the occasion demands it, I'll probably have a drink. But now because my capacity to enjoy alcohol also has changed, one drink later, I'll be like, so that has changed significantly.
A lot of economical sense as well.
Correct. Yeah. Like, and honestly, I don't miss it anymore. I don't need alcohol to have fun or to be myself or to even make connection with somebody else. I'm very happy to, so that's one big change, I would say, that's come about, and I don't mind it. Outside of that, post-cancer, because there's no reason they can attribute to what caused your cancer. And the only controllable you have is your diet and your lifestyle. So you try to do as much as possible to kind of fix it, so to speak. But there's no template. Like oncologist का एक बारी काम हो गया, उनको घर भेज देता है. And then you're like, अरे भाई कैंसर हुआ था, कुछ तो और बताओ. You know why? I'm like, what?
उसमें इतना lightly कैसे ले रहे हो?
Like घर जाओ. It's like, so I was, when my treatment ended, I said, so I'll see you again when? It's like 6 months later. I said, what? What do you mean 6 months later? I was like, मुझे ऐसे छोड़ो मत यार. So there's no information on nutrition, on diet, on, you know, what you can do. So I'm right now in that place where I'm trying to draw that fine balance between not being psychotic about what I'm consuming, ki arey nahi, everything off, but also like what are the healthier choices that I can make. So in that sense, some might seem a little bit stupid. Like I avoid fragrances, for example, now because some study said they're unregulated. You don't know what you're putting on your body. So I'm like, theek hai, chodo. I don't stink anyway, so it's fine. I take a shower every day. So it's things like that which might seem a little too much to an outsider, but it's these little things that I have in my control. So I try to do that.
So eating out has reduced significantly.
Yeah.
Ordering in at random moments of craving has reduced significantly.
Significantly, but it's not gone away. I still enjoy my cake. I will still eat good
Dark
food.
chocolates, yeah.
Yeah, I love good food, so I'll indulge. But I will be mindful about it. As any healthy person beyond the age of 35 should be. Basically, it's just that. It's not cancer per se. It's just like, oh, I was kind of
take better care of my body.
I take better care of my body.
Fair. One last part I wanted to know about the entire treatment process. It's an expensive process. It's an expensive disease to deal with. How much stress was on your shoulders with respect to the monetary aspect? I'm sure you had the best of insurances available. What was your experience with the insurance companies like? Is there something that you do differently as far as dealing with it now that you are beyond that phase in hindsight? What's the monetary impact that you faced because of this?
So you're right, cancer is expensive and insurance is supposed to cover a lot of it. But as soon as a person is diagnosed with anything that is a medical bill like cancer or stroke or heart disease or any such slightly more expensive ailment, insurance companies will try to find ways to negate your claim. And that's what happened in my case. And they denied my claim saying that, you know, like long story short is that you can't prove you didn't have cancer before. And I was like, but I didn't. Like, but prove it. So it was, I mean, I'm dumbing it down, but that's what it was boiling down to. And it was infuriating me because what I learned through the process is that now I can't get new insurance. I can't pay the same premium and get a good cover, right? So I had to fight that insurance battle. It took me close to a year. It just got resolved 2-3 months back. I had to actually file a case with the ombudsman and kind of put my case forward and say, this is wrong. I paid my premium. I have declared all my medical history fairly. What the insurance company is doing is not giving me clear answers and they're denying my rightful claim. And I fought that and I had a court hearing and all those things happened and I finally got my claim. So in that sense, the monetary impact was not as much because my insurance was able to cover all of it, but it was a struggle. And I don't know how many people who are going through this have the energy or even the knowledge that they can potentially do this and get things sorted. The only thing I would, as an advice that I'd give people is that while you're still healthy, please buy a good insurance, get yourself a good substantial cover, and declare your medical history truthfully. So in today's day and age, and this could change, but like you should at least have a 50 lakh cover that covers for everything. And, you know, talk to your insurance company and say, tumko jo test karna hai na, pehle kar lo. You verify that I'm a healthy person today and that's it. And then you pay your premiums on time. So yeah, it was a bit of a battle, but कैंसर कर लिया तो अभी इंश्योरेंस कंपनी
छोटे मोटे लीगल बैटल्स तो मतलब कहाँ ही स्टैंड करते हैं ठीक है लेट्स स्टार्ट लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड having known you for the amount of time I've had, you've always had an unsure idea about whether to start a family of your own. You've been unsure on the idea of love. Has that perspective changed post what you've gone through?
Yeah, significantly. I think I've just gotten very clearer about a few things. controversial or not like unpopular opinions. I don't want to have kids. I think financially and physically they're a bit of a drain. I love other people ke kids.
Yes, specifically talking to you, Gargi.
My brother also now has a baby, 1-month-old niece. Very happy, very excited. But like when my niece was born, relatives were asking, now, don't you also feel like having one cute little one of your own? I was like, no, if I want another one, I'll ask them to have one. I don't want. So, and plus, like my body has gone through a lot physically.
Yeah.
I'm also older now. It just doesn't make sense for me to have kids. And I've never had that very strong maternal instinct that a lot of other people probably have. So for me, that's something that I'm getting more clearer about not having in my life. On marriage, no offense, but I don't think it's a great idea. Like, it's
No comments.
like if you find the right person, sure. But I feel like if you want to have kids or if you want to merge your finances for some reason or you want to entrust someone with medical responsibilities, then it makes sense to legally bind yourself in a union with the person you trust and respect. And
Legally
cherish.
bind yourself in a union.
It's not romantic for me at all. So that's my view on marriage in general. It's expensive also, but I would love to have a wedding. You know what I mean? Like just like it's a party here, nice clothes.
So
everybody is happy and
basically sangeet, basically a cocktail, and then that's
I don't even want the mehndi. It's too much. just that. Give me gifts. But what I feel is that, and I'm not saying all of this to say that love is not important for me. I think love is very important for me. I really, really want to have someone that I can call my own. And not, actually, that's not a very nice word. Ownership is not great. That brings you back in marriage territory. But I just want love in my life. That's very important for me. That's not changed.
Why?
Why? Interesting question. Why? I think love brings with itself an energy that makes everything better. Like, I don't know if you remember New Love in your life, but, the world just becomes a better place. Or life in general is tough, right? So if you've had someone in your corner who you know kind of cares for you, it just feels easier. Like battles become easier. Like cancer became easier because I had people. Like if someone were to say that, oh, you beat cancer, I did. We did. So that's why I feel people love relationships are important. And to have that, I don't need to sign a paper.
Fair. Your brother, you were just talking about his sweet kid. He got married while you were going through all this. You had just found out a short while back that you were diagnosed with with cancer, and you want to talk about that entire episode where it's a momentous occasion in his life. You obviously want to be as involved as you can be in that occasion. What were some of the sacrifices he made? What was going through your head when you were thinking of a wedding in the household with the person you've grown up with? You want to be there for him, but at the back of your head, you're also battling your own battles. Were you skeptical of having this marriage take place in the first place during these times? Were you skeptical of attending it? Were you a little shy of what XYZ who comes to the wedding will say, will cast judgment on? What was your entire thought process? Because that was the one major event from what I can recall that you had to go through publicly in that stage.
So his wedding date had finalized before I was diagnosed. And so obviously there was that whole thing of we'll call it off, right? But I didn't want to call it off. As much as I was dealing with a ton of shit, I had still not started treatment. But I had still not started chemotherapy. And my doctor said that, you will have good days and you'll be able to socialize. So I just took that practical information and I said we should do it. So that's how the decision was made. But by the time his wedding rolled around, I was in the middle of chemo. And as much as I was able to travel and, all of that, I was so tired. I could not... Yeah.
So, to what extent were you able to participate in the wedding? You were there in person, but I'm sure you had to miss out on a few things.
I couldn't dance.
Hmm.
I was there. I was there through all of it. I was smiling. I was doing my best, but I would get tired by 9 p.m. And it's a Delhi wedding. It starts at 9.
Yeah.
So, I would get tired soon. There were 3 different functions. And my bua had got me 3 different wigs. So that was the most exciting part. Every day I would have a different hair length. So we did everything possible for me to have fun. Like my entire family, they're cooking me separate meals. One day my chachi will get me pasta. One day my bua will bring me something. And, everybody was really, really taking care of me. And that was truly special. But I could not enjoy it the way I, could have if I was not in treatment. And I kind of regret that. I miss that. Would I go back and change something? Probably not, because, I really wanted him to have that in his life.
Yeah.
And I didn't want his life in any way to stop or pause because of mine. So I don't think I would have still changed it, but I wish I could have danced a little bit more. That's all.
The thing that you look forward to the most in weddings is dancing. I still remember.
And alcohol.
Of course. I still remember at Harshdeep's wedding, you specifically came out only for one evening when there was the Sangeet ceremony, and you taught us all various random steps that obviously we couldn't follow. But yeah, that was the only function that you attended in the entire 3. Yeah, you are my closest friend. I'll come to your Sangeet.
Yeah.
Nice. Looking forward to the remainder of the 70 years that you'll live for, what is there something that you still fear after you've scaled the toughest of mountains that you have had to in life so far? Is there something that you still fear now, or is it like ab to kuch rakh do mere samne main faad dungi?
I fear recurrence.
Hmm.
And I think that's a fear every cancer survivor grapples with to some degree. I remember when I'd just been diagnosed and I was Googling random things, and it said that fear of recurrence is something that cancer survivors live with and have to deal with. And at that time, it just felt like, oh, why would you feel that way? Bari ho gaya to, shouldn't you be more positive and optimistic that my treatment worked and I'm fine? But yeah, it's easier said than done. And I think that's a fear that brings me to my knees still. I don't think I'd want to go through it again. And it's a real possibility because I got diagnosed young, which means there's more years for that to happen again. And in absence of knowing what caused it, it's very hard to sort of prevent it, right? So that's my fear. But I've been trying to, rationalize it, reason it out, reduce its impact on me, or the intensity with which it strikes me sometimes. And then what I figured was that, see, if it happens again, किसका प्रॉब्लम है? तुम लोगों का. मेरा क्या है? If, I mean, not to be morbid and everything, but like if I die, who's going to struggle? Not me, na, मैं तो गई. It's going to be your problem, everybody else's problem. So, I mean, I'm so sorry. I will try my best, okay, for you. So, but yeah, that's sort of
Do you miss wearing caps?
Fuck no. No.
How long did you? I know you don't like caps. Have never liked caps. You love your hair as they are. How long did you have to wear caps, hats when you had to step out?
I lost my hair in a week of chemo starting, so March last year, and I started getting it back only in October, November of last year. So in between all of that time, I wore caps, but I'll be honest, I didn't really care about it too much. So if I'm out for a walk in my society, I would not wear a cap. If I'm going to the hospital, I'm not wearing a cap. Sometimes if I'm going to a cafe to meet a friend, then I'll put a beanie on. So I was not too, I didn't wear a cap throughout the whole thing because I was like, it is what it is, right? You deal with the discomfort of it. I have enough discomfort in my life, sort of a thing. But of course, I wore them enough to hate them. Like, it's just, I think a lot of the times that I wore them was because I realized this funny thing, which sounds obvious, but when mosquitoes bite you, they can bite you on your head also. Yeah, it's wild. When you have hair, you don't realize it.
That's the first time I'm thinking of that possibility. Yeah.
I was sitting with my mom and dad in the garden or something, and a mosquito bit me, and I'm like scratching. I was like, "Oh my god, are you serious?" And they were laughing, and I was like, "Stop laughing!" So yeah, I don't like cats.
I don't blame you. To wrap this up, what are you looking forward to from the next 5, 10, 40, 50 years of your life now? What are you hopeful for as you move forward?
Nothing specific, but I have come to realize and appreciate the magic of life. It is truly surprising. I know I will still have ups and downs. They may or may not be related to disease or cancer. There would be moments in my life and everybody else's that are not so pleasant. But the way life sometimes takes turns, makes you meet people who you never thought you'd otherwise meet, or, it surprises you. And like when you get something like cancer, you wonder कि जीने का भी क्या ही मेरे पास है, what do I have to live for? And I don't have that in the form of a child or a husband or whatever, but I feel what gives me joy. Legally binded union नहीं है मेरे को ऐसा. तो what I feel I like living for is life itself. It's so surprising. It's so beautiful. It's fun, and I want to be here for that journey, and that's it.
Nice. We'll have a small rapid fire segment because that's something a podcast is incomplete without these days.
Okay.
Yeah. So any piece of content is incomplete without 30-second rapid fire questions. So fire away without taking too much of time to think. Do you still have boobs?
Yes.
Can you work and commute by yourself?
Yes.
Nice. Can you work out, and to what intensity?
I can work out as any other normal person would in the gym.
Okay. What's something normal that is very strange in the afterlife? No, so we are calling this your afterlife.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I like that, afterlife.
What's something that used to be completely normal earlier but has now started feeling strange?
Wind in my hair.
Nice. Would you have ever cut your hair this short willingly?
No.
One normal task that has felt hilariously weird post-treatment?
Wearing a bra.
Weirdest thing that you Googled during your recovery?
Will I be able to have sex again?
And the answer was yes. What's the most comforting thing that someone has said to you during treatment?
One more day is one less day.
That has to be on a t-shirt. Are you doing something now that the old you wouldn't have done?
I want to write a book. So I'm going to be writing a book.
That's brilliant. What took you so long to... you are one of the most articulate people I know. So why the fuck did you wait for this to happen to write a book is my next question.
I don't have a good answer to that.
Okay. Health advice to anyone listening to this podcast?
Don't drink alcohol.
Any wellness trend or health hack that you now swear by?
Yoga and acupuncture.
Okay.
Brought me back to life.
What's one thing that you worry about less now that you used to be petrified about earlier?
Pleasing people.
Brilliant. Zoya, what do we say to cancer?
Fuck you.
Thanks.